my mind, when we talk about, and because this is my subject as well, the real challenge to our economic security today is the external debt, and how that external debt piece could be tackled and handled. To me, the starting point of handling the domestic debt or the sustainability of international debt and its sustainability rests in trade. And, the trade, and obviously it has to be export driven, must be competitive, productive, but it has direct correlation with the FDI. And there are many instances when the exports have taken off, the FDI has increased. Vietnam being one example for that. And therefore, we need to understand that how the trade piece fits in terms of reducing our debt and then eventually the poverty levels too. The fact of the matter is that the most efficient trade that could take place would only take place with your neighbors. And we have many examples of that. From Latin America, 60% of the trade takes place within Latin America itself. European Union is another example. In our case, we have a very unique situation. We're quite unlucky and lucky in many ways, but when it comes to trade, we're certainly very unlucky. That, almost 1/3 of the population rests in our region, which is the location that we talked about Professor Saab earlier, and Ehsan also kind of alluded to that. But unfortunately, the trade is almost non-existent. And unless you have an efficient trade relationship within your own region, your trade numbers or the export for that matter can't take. Interestingly enough, it's like a chicken and egg situation. The trade is not taking place because of multiple reasons, but the primary reason is the conflict and the security problems. Stockholm Institute of Peace has done a study which says that 1% openness in trade leads to 0.8% reduction in arms conflict within the region. So this will come first. So that one, I would tend to tilt towards the trade piece. But we need to start from the trade because, that should be the center of everything than anything else. World Bank says that, the potential is enormous between Pakistan and the region. 10% increase in trade would lead to 31% increase in the GDP. Important thing is that, and that all leads to obviously the reduction in debt. It's very interesting times. Almost 10 countries have already defaulted in the last 3 years, which is higher than what has happened in the last 2 decades. And there are 60% of the low-income countries which are at the verge of a default. So therefore, it makes the entire proposition of, the trade even more important than it used to be, and especially in the lower-income countries like us. World Bank also says that 1% increase in FDI leads to 0.38% increase in economic growth. South Korea is a classic example in that respect. Professor Saab talked about it. They have achieved today from a warring state to 1960s to now a high-income country only through trade liberalization and comprehensive industrial policy. We need to have a very good bias between export and import substitution. We've been a big protectionist of our import side, and that has led to, the uncompetitive export sector that we have, and the result is that, boom and bust cycle that we saw every now and then. China, which has been the biggest protectionist, and even now today is as well, but that liberalization led them to where they are today to achieve this kind of growth that we are talking about. In our case, unfortunately, we have always used imports as a means of meeting our fiscal problems. 48% of our total tax collection is actually import-based, tariffs. 12.7% is our average mean tariff, as opposed to 2.7%, which is in the seven top exporting countries the case. The result is that you have an export which is very narrow. 50% of your exports are in 4 countries alone: EU, China, Afghanistan, and USA. 70% of your exports are in low-tech industries. Textile, which has the 5% share of the entire market, we have 58% of the exports to them. So the ability to increase is also kind of challenged. Our export to GDP is 8.4% in comparison to India, which is 19%, Bangladesh is 15%. Our labor productivity sucks. Our labor productivity has increased from 3,200 to 4,500, which is a multiple of 0.5 between 1991 and 2020, as opposed to Vietnam's, which increased 5 in the multiple of 5, from $1,200 to $6,000. The free trade agreements are very useful, and we must post them. We did one with China as well. But it has to be tackled with extreme care. And with the neighboring countries, we have to achieve the free trade agreement, including Afghanistan. But the fact of the matter is it has to be a balanced approach. And not just with the business compulsions alone. Now, as we are saying, for example, I'm coming from Lahore right now, and we know this for sure that this smog has a large contribution of coming from India. So we are all integrated. So in the free trade agreement, this climate change piece and the last E that Professor Saab talked about must be integrated. What that all leads us to is a need for having, as Professor Saab said, the homegrown plan. Anil also spoke about it. We built on what, and I happen to be that part of that committee, which has worked on building on the foundations that Professor Saab has set, which is 5E and 5-year plan, to convert this into an implementation plan. Because look, the key is how will we implement those great ideas and the framework that Professor Saab has just defined you and given to this country really, to then implement it and make sure that it has direct correlation with the productivity. That plan is ready and hopefully it shall be announced very shortly. Just at the end, I would like to comment on what Anil had said earlier about what sort of investment is needed. The fact of the matter is, and I think Ehsan also talked about it, that it has to be in the comparative industries, no longer the protected industries. And this is what is a big problem. We have seen that, in Vietnam, for example, and that all leads to, by the way, the reduction in debt and then eventually the reduction in poverty. In Vietnam, the poverty reduced in 1980s from 40% to now merely 5%. So at the end of the day, it's all about our people and their welfare, and that can only be achieved through a comparative trade with our neighbors, leading to reduction in debt, which is a long-drawn process, by the way. It takes 7 to 8 years. The good news is that our external debt to GDP ratio is one of the lowest right now in the last decade, which is a very good. Thank you, Anil.